Last week on Wednesday, the Obama administration signed an official memorandum of understanding indicating that it would increase the funding for Israel, upping it to about $38 billion over the next 10 years. $38 billion over the next 10 years.
You know, of all those, politician, congressmen who always talk about, fiscal responsibility, money that goes over to the Middle East, and how we don't need to give anybody aid. We need to use it over here.
Right.
I mean, where is that same concern when it comes to Israel? On both sides, not just Republicans, but Democrats.
See, I think, for some reason, I think they could give them a blank check and it would be okay with them. But these are the same people, like you said, that believe in fiscal responsibility.
Balancing the budget,
having a small government. But we need to support Israel to no end. Blank check. $38 billion over 10 years. And what's very interesting is these same politicians criticize Obama for having a horrible relationship with Israel and being very disrespectful to Netanyahu. And when they get in, when Trump gets in the office, or whatever,
they're gonna have a great relationship.
They're gonna rebuild the relationship with Israel, rebuild it. Tell me, how bad is the relationship that they're getting $38 billion over the next 10 years?
But see, I think you're talking about like something different when it comes to Republicans. And by no means am I defending Obama, but I know what they're trying to get at. Because if you disagree with Israel, essentially you were in disagreement with Christians too,
right? Because
that's seen as a holy land. So they do it for a different reason, but it actually does a disservice. And when it comes to like discussing like the allegiance that both Democrats and Republicans have to Israel, it does a disservice because it actually paints a false picture about Obama,
right?
And kind of almost being oblivious to the fact that he is just, as much.
he has just as much unconditional support.
Yeah, and he's taking
of Israel than they do. As they do. Yeah.
It's and that's the only reason why it's a disservice. And I'm not defending Obama, like I said, but you just have to have
it's like you're defending that he is as bad as they are.
And
that's exactly what you're doing.
And I think that's what I'm saying. So they almost don't paint the correct picture about how both Democrats and Republicans are taking it up the butt from Israel.
Right. And see, there's a lot of reasons why this increased funding or funding Israel at all is a bad idea. But like one would be like Israel has healthcare for all of their people.
Isn't that funny? So people who exactly. So that's interesting because there's a large block of politicians who just protested the Affordable Care Act,
right?
But yet they're just robust advocates, for Israel who has
healthcare for all.
That's funny.
But also, go ahead.
Well, I mean, but there's another reason to me why it's actually awful that we support Israel. It's actually unethical, essentially because they're violating international law.
They're in violation of international law, and they have been for years. They continuously build on occupied. Man, like this is so ridiculous that it's hard to even. Grasp it.
It just seems so simple, but
it's so simple. So, for decades, they have been building on territory that they should not be building on. In the West Bank, Gaza Strip, they've been continuously pushing that line back and back and back, and building Jewish settlements in those places, right?
And keeping those that have been pushed off their land pretty much under military occupation.
And control. And under military rule.
Yeah.
While the Jewish people that are on these military or are on these occupied settlements, they're not under military rule. No,
they get to move freely.
They move freely around because they're Jewish.
The Palestinians have to go through checkpoints.
Yeah, they could be detained. Just at will, for an undetermined amount of time. And so Before Netanyahu took office, there was about 474,000 Israeli settlers living in these territories. That number has grown to over or around 570,000. 570,000. So again, they keep pushing that line and keep pushing that line. And why they're doing this, we have to understand why they're doing this. Whenever there's talks between the Palestinians and the Israelis, they always break down, right? And it's always over who gets what. Who gets what? Who gets what land? That's pretty much why it always breaks down, right? But the Israelis, they always want to keep what they stole and what they keep stealing. And so the Palestinians are being like, well, hold on. No. We want that land. That's our land. We want that land. And Israel's like, well, no, we're there. We think we should keep it. Talks break down. And then they keep doing the same thing. They keep pushing back the settlement line. They keep building more settlements and moving more Israelis onto these lands. Then when they talk again, now we're at this line. Now we should keep this much. So how do you like that?
When does a thief get to negotiate how much they keep?
Never.
That's like, you know, that's like your house getting robbed, right? Mm-hmm. And they catch the person that robbed you, right?
Right.
And y'all in court,
and you
and going for restitution. And then since this thief doesn't get to negotiate how much he keeps of your stuff, it's like the court says, "Oh, talks are breaking down. Yeah. Sorry." Yeah. And then he's taking more of your stuff. And then you go back to court again. Talks break down, no restitution, and it's like happens over as he's taking more stuff from you.
It is the most nonsensical thing in the world. As you stated, it is a violation of international law. They are currently in violation of international law. So I think it's the 4th Geneva Agreement. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But why are we in support of this?
Why do we continuously fund them oppressing people? Because that's exactly what they're doing. Tell me how Israel is not a terrorist state. Tell me how they're not a terrorist state. Are they not terrorizing the Palestinian people by occupying their land, by stealing their land? Tell me how they're not a terrorist state.
Well, we got.
I know that's controversial.
We got to first get at this though. Why is it their land? Why do a lot of people feel it's their land? Why do they feel like it's their land? And why do a lot of Americans feel that they deserve that land? That's what we need to ask. Mm-hmm. Because the question as to why isn't Israel considered a terrorist state probably is contingent on that first question.
Well, and also because they're recognized as a state too. They have a presence in the global community. They're established. So whatever they do, it's like it's state sponsored, right? It's whatever they can do.
Yeah, I do think it's that too, but there's that religious angle to it.
Well, so they feel like they have claim to that land, like they belong there, but. We could kind of, go a different way there and apply it to a different scenario. I think the Native Americans here in America could say, well, they have claim to this land.
You know what's so funny? They would actually have more of a case because they were actually here.
They were actually here.
So my thing is, like, if there was going to be provisions made for Jews, after the war,
right?
Why didn't they get back the land, the actual land and their property?
Yeah, that was stolen from them. Why did they go somewhere else?
Somewhere else to get people involved that had nothing to do with it.
Say that again. Say that again. They had nothing to do with it.
They had nothing to do with it.
But they went ahead and created this state for them, and said, "Well, look, we belong here."
Says God. Says God.
We belong here. You other people over here, y'all got to get out.
So who is God? Britain? You're not. You know what I'm saying? Because all this is a self-fulfilled prophecy. You make the prophecy based on your own cultural understanding of some mythology, and then you self-fulfill that prophecy to make it happen. Now you got so many problems over there.
Right.
Come on now.
And see, look, let's be clear. We are not against Jewish people. We are not against Palestinian people. We want safety and security for all people, but we want what's right for the Palestinian people as well. So just as the Jewish people have a right to live how they want to live on their land, because I think we've said before in earlier videos, what's done is actually done. So I'm not saying the Jewish people should, like, oh, you know, Israel should just fold and, you know, since they stole the land, they should just get out. No, because that would be the same as over here, right? That would be the same as over here, right?
Yeah.
So we're not saying that, but we have to recognize that the Palestinians deserve their land as well. So stop violating international law continuously and stop stealing their land. And stop it, American government, for funding and endorsing their activity.
Essentially, that's what we are. We're endorsing terrorism.